and welcome to Reopen the Gate, the Guiders Against Trans Exclusion official podcast. We are your hosts, Elle, she, her.
And Lo, they, she.
So, welcome. This week we are going to be talking about a couple of different people who have been or currently are volunteers with Girl Guiding. Specifically, we're going to be talking about and looking at the debate on whether or not, as a volunteer, they plan to stay in Girl Guiding or if they're choosing to resign from their role due to the policy change.
So before we start, we do want to clarify the gate won't persuade you to stay or to leave. We want to reaffirm that all responses to this change are valid. And if you are considering or have already resigned, we do have a letter of intent to resign linked in the description below that you can check out. So we have a way to track the number of people who have made or are in the process of making this really difficult decision.
So, we've both been in guiding since we were Rainbow, so from around about 5 years old, and we've had active roles in our counties and as Speak Out champions in Girl Guiding Scotland throughout our time. So, whilst we're both very aware of the size of these debates and we morally stand with our trans siblings and are completely outraged by the decision, we also recognize that our voices and our roles could be a powerful asset in re-establishing trans inclusion into the community as we go.
Yeah, exactly. And as much as we have our own opinions, we wanted to ask our community what they thought as well. So this week we've spoken to multiple members of the gate community who have been or still are Girl Guiding members to ask them about their perspective on the decision of whether to resign and leave their positions or to continue and fight from the inside. So first off, we spoke to Debs, who after 30 years of Girl Guiding resigned due to this policy.
So, hello everybody. We've got some wonderful guests with us today, and one of our first lovely guests is going to be the lovely Deborah, who has joined us here today to tell us a little bit about why they've chosen to resign from guiding and tell us a bit about how their initial reaction has impacted them and how the policy change has impacted them as a guider. So, hello Deborah, would you like to say a wee quick hello?
Yes, hello. Thanks for having me on.
No worries. We're very excited to have you here. So my first question is just if you could tell us a little bit about what you've been up to in guiding. So how long have you been in guiding? What kind of things have you been doing throughout your time? Just tell us a little bit about your background, essentially.
Okay, so I answered a postcard on a little shop window that said, "Help, this brownies unit is going to close if we don't get a leader." And this was 30 years ago.
Oh,
And I know, and I had, oh, well, I couldn't let it happen because I was a brownie and I saw the appeal for help and I just saw I had to do it because I hadn't done anything in guiding since I was a brownie, actually towards the end of 10 years old. So that was back in 1995. And I had a little nearly 2 year old daughter. And so I did my leadership qualification straight away, helped at the Brownie unit, and it was great. And I felt like I was doing something important. I was helping. And then we moved to East Sussex because we were in Ascot at the time in Berkshire because my husband was working there. And straight away on the doorstep after we moved to Battle in East Sussex, a brown owl was on the doorstep and heard, "I understand you're a warranted guider. Come and help me." So, I mean, volunteers are just so important. So obviously I like to help. And so I was her snowy owl for several years until my second daughter was born. And then when she was 5, I opened a rainbow unit and I ran the rainbow unit in Battle for 13 years and then managed our guide hall. And I was district commissioner at one for about 3 years. And then I was social media lead for Sussex East County. And I know, and then it was amazing. It was great. And I really enjoyed working with the county. And for the most part, how I felt about guiding is proud, just so proud because of the inclusivity, because of the empowering girls, and that it was a girl only space, And we were doing important things with girls, and I could see the changes in them. And I'd also seen how, some of the brownies that I'm still in touch with, some brownies from when they were 10, and they've got their own daughters, and one of them was one of my rainbows. That's a sign you're getting on in years. And it's just wonderful to see the girls grow and change. And I've participated in pride parades because I'm a fierce ally. I have lots of friends who are trans or non-binary or whatever. It doesn't matter what they are because it's just a label. But so I'm fiercely proud. I've led pride parades with other leaders, and I've participated in Brighton pride parades a couple of times. Oh my goodness, such a joyful event. Such a
Queer
joyful
capital
event.
of
And
Britain has to be absolutely beautiful.
incredible. I've done it twice now, and it's so wonderful. And what's also so great about that, and I know I'm starting to ramble a bit, but
Okay.
um, is that as we're marching, as we're almost dancing along the streets in Brighton, hundreds of thousands of people, you every now and then see a woman or whoever they are, female presenting, would be doing this, and we'd go, yes, oh yes. And also we'd get so many people would say, the Girl Guides are here. Oh, we didn't know you did this, or we didn't know you were still around. Oh my goodness, it's more proud moments and
I will say,
incredible.
I managed to get to Brighton Pride while I was in London over the summer, and me and my girlfriend both went to Brighton Pride. It was the only Pride parade we managed to attend, and we saw the Girl Guiding go past, and we were like, "Oh my God, that's them!" And we followed them all the way down the parade path.
Oh, you were the ones that we were fiercely waving at. It was
Absolutely.
incredible.
I think that for so long, guiding has been this kind of not kept secret because we've always been here, we've always been around. I mean, we're well past the centenary at this rate. But guiding has been such a long tradition in so many young people's lives, and we have grown up loving it, and we have stuck around because we love it, and we've helped it because we love it. And so seeing that inclusion is so important, and showing up to Girls with Pride events and everything that we can do to make these spaces as inclusive as possible, especially in a very changing world, is so important. So I love that you've been involved with these things. And I love to hear that it was almost instinctual. You're like, okay, I've moved somewhere. I need to open a unit because I
Yep.
need to give this opportunity to other people because I know the impact that it can have. So yeah,
Yeah,
I
it's just
think
it's so important. And I mean it didn't end there. And then when we moved to St. Leonard, so we lived in Battle for 25 years. So I'm a conventional mum, husband of 36 years and two daughters, grown daughters, and possibly, not necessarily typical of somebody who's a fierce ally, but because it isn't, we aren't who we are. We're just, I don't know, we just love everybody, and it doesn't matter who you are. And so Girl Guiding was that. And that's why I was so proud of it. So it was an easy job for me to be involved in social media, for helping in units, seeing the girls flourish. So when the announcement came, I was desperately disappointed. Disappointed in so much as the whole ethos, all of the things that Girl Guiding represented, almost felt like it was crashing down because to be all inclusive, suddenly they weren't, and it was so. We reached out. There was lots of chatter, and it's at that point that you kind of find out who thinks what.
thank you so much for sharing about how you felt in that announcement. And thank you for so much
Yeah.
for your years of
Well,
service if you haven't been thanked yet, because we know that with the mass resignations that have happened, a lot of people have not been recognized for the amount of work that they've put into their time in volunteering. So just a very quick thank you so much for your time, both here and for your time in volunteering because we know what that means. And volunteers do not get enough recognition for that.
Can I ask, when you resigned, when you emailed whoever it was that you emailed, obviously, do not say too much about where and who. Can I ask about the kind of response that you got given? Al's already said that we've had some people come to us with negative responses or not so kind responses, and I wondered what you received from your commissioner or Girl Guiding when you told them.
Great, thank you for asking. I would like to share that. My the leader that I was assisting with, um, I had quite a negative response, and it was mostly, well, it was guilt trippy mostly. This is going to happen, that's going to happen, which wasn't true actually, and I didn't answer all the questions. I just said thank you very much and goodbye, and there was from my part, nothing mean or nasty. And I really hope that the girls get as much as they can still, even though I don't know, I'm rambling now. But what was really lovely, another guide leader I'd known for years and years responded in a not very satisfactory way either. But the best response I had was from my county commissioner because she wanted a Zoom call and wanted to see me face to face. And although she's a bit of a distance away, my county commissioner was really understanding and she was really wonderful. And I could tell that she wanted to speak to everyone and ask everybody how they felt, what it meant for them and what their future was. And I was really grateful for that. But I really hope that what you're doing and everything that's happening as a result will change it all, make it. I don't know what will happen, but I'm here to help, whatever you want.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. I think that something we want to keep as clear as possible is that here at Gate, we are a community of guiders, and that can mean people who are still in guiding, people who have left guiding. We are a community because we have always been a community. It's just now we have been able to recognize who our safe people are and who the community is around us and who our allies and supporters are because of a very heartbreaking announcement. We were able to come together. And I think whether people choose to resign because they can't morally take it, and I know that we've been struggling with that weight of morality in our own identities as well. Um, it's a lot, but I also think that there is not a correct response at this moment in time. And here at Gate, we're going to continue, even if by a year from now, none of us are actively in guiding anymore because we can't stay the same way that you can't stay. We will still be here fighting for it because at the end of the day, guiding is so much more than the unit meeting activities or even the badges, no matter how much we love them. It is that community, it is our friends, it is our siblings in guiding who have made it so much, and it's leaders like yourself that have built this community. So again, just a huge thank you.
And to you for everything that you're doing now.
That was amazing to hear from Debs. So next up, we spoke to Holly, who chose to step down from her role as ambassador for Southwest England. However, she has decided to stay on as a unit helper. So let's check it out.
We're very, very excited to introduce our next guest. Holly, would you like to just say a quick hello to everybody?
Hi everyone, my name's Holly.
And we're very excited to have a conversation with Holly about what we're going to be talking about today, a bit about our first initial reactions to the statement, as well as how we're moving forward. So, hi Holly, very nice to meet you. Very excited to have you on here. I guess our first question is just if you could tell us a little bit about what you've been doing in guiding for the last wee while and anything major that you've been up to.
Sure, so um, scarily enough, I've actually been part of Girl Guiding for 43 years because I joined as a brownie at 7, went through guides, rangers, and then after university, I got recruited by my old brown owl to be a brownie leader. Partly because at the time, Girlguiding had a rule on how old you could be when you were running a unit. And I'm not actually sure she ever told me how old she was, but she was getting to the stage where she needed somebody else to be the official leader. She was still absolutely in charge, but I was the name on the paperwork. So I joined as a brownie leader. And then when I moved, that was in London, I moved to Reading where I still live now. And because I was commuting from Reading into London, I couldn't get back in time to do brownies in my new home. So I moved to guides instead. And then I took over our brownie unit when our fabulous brown owl retired. So I've been a leader for, sorry, I'm counting, 29 years. Yeah.
Amazing.
First brownies, then guides, and now both. Um,
Amazing.
and I've also been for the last about year and a half, couple of years, an ambassador for Girl Guiding Southwest England because my day job is that I'm a children's author, and they reached out to me to ask if I would join their ambassador team a little while ago, which I've really loved doing.
Yeah. And what kind of things have you been doing as an ambassador for Southwest England?
So in a way, it almost feels like rather than being an ambassador for Girl Guiding Southwest England, I've been an ambassador for books and reading and creativity and just sharing stories, sort of an ambassador for all of those things to Girl Guiding, which I've really loved. So basically, I've got to go to lots of Rainbow Brownie Guide meetings to go and talk to them about my books, but also about how they can enjoy storytelling, illustrating, share their favorite books with me. I've done a few big events as well. As an ambassador with other ambassadors, which was really great to get to meet them. Yeah.
So you've been a part of the guiding community for quite a while. You've kind of grown up with it. You've been a part of multiple different units. You've seen how that impact helps the people that we work with and the young volunteers and the young members that we work with. So you know a lot about guiding as a whole and how that community has felt for yourself as well as
Mhm.
many of us. So, um, how did you feel when the announcement was made?
I, well, devastated initially because I had been so hoping that we would avoid it. I'd been worrying about it for a while. So, um, as background, my daughter is trans. She came out aged about 14. She was never in Girl Guiding because she joined Scouts before she came out. But while while we were adjusting as a family, we were very supportive, but we didn't know what we were doing. And so we were kind of trying to feel our way in how to support Ash and what things were going to look like in the future. And one of the things that was so helpful for me was that Girl Guiding was inclusive. And it was about at the same time that there was a lot of kind of angst going on in the media about a couple of leaders who were not trans inclusive and were being very loud about it. And the fact that Girl Guiding was standing up and saying that they they were for everyone, they were for all girls, um, and that trans girls were girls and that trans women could be leaders, that was just so important for me. Um, and another bit of background, which is kind of less important in the grand scheme of things, but it's quite meaningful for me, is I've actually just written a book about Girl Guiding. It's about the guides who worked at MI5 during the First World War. And so that's been published in February. So the next few months, my world is full of talking about Girl Guiding and how much I loved it and how much I have been inspired by Girl Guiding to write this book, which is the first in the series. And so it was an absolute gut punch
Yeah.
to hear what was happening. And I had been worrying about ever since the Supreme Court judgment whether this was going to happen. But it seemed that Girl Guiding were holding the line, and I was really hopeful. So I was just devastated. And my immediate reaction was that I needed to resign because how could I um, keep, how could I stay as part of an organization that had kind of torn this away, torn this opportunity, this support, this chance for friendship and growth and everything away from trans girls, particularly when my daughter is a trans girl.
There is such a strong sense of community in guiding. There always has been. And as soon as that worldview is kind of shaken, you feel this immense proud, like both myself and Lo are Queen's Guides, which means we have spent
Yes.
upwards of 4 years working towards an award that as soon as we got,
Yeah.
essentially, because we both got it this year, last year now, we turned around and went, okay, I don't feel proud about this anymore because I don't
Oh, I'm
feel
so
proud
sorry.
representing this organization, even though I was immensely proud of it from my entire childhood and going into my adulthood. It shaped so much of what I want to be doing and who I want to become. So I understand completely that kind of you instantly feel that worldview shaken and something that you've had so much part of your life for so long feels like it's been ripped away, but also you feel that against your morals because morally we would be gone if we hadn't had our girls and if we hadn't had our units and our members that need us in order to continue having their opportunities and also to be a leader that shows that
Yeah.
inclusion is the way forward and to spread that and to make sure that we stay as inclusive as we can be. I think it's so important that people recognize that not everybody is going to be able to resign fully from guiding because so much of their identity and their community is integrated in guiding. And I think every form of reaction is so valid from that initial announcement. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. And we're so sorry about how this has impacted yourself as well in terms of how you feel you can represent and how your inspiration for something that you're so passionate about, that you've made a part of your career, has then put you in such a difficult position where there isn't really an escape, and we're so happy that you came along to our London protest. It was so heartwarming when we saw you following on the socials, and we were very excited. So again,
It
thank you for
was
that.
such a special day. I mean, obviously for horrible reasons, but it just felt wonderful to be part of that group. It was really, really special.
Could you just talk a little bit more about um how you plan on moving forward as somebody still in guiding and how you plan on using
Yeah.
your voice within guiding?
To be honest, I don't think it's going to be difficult as to represent how we feel within Girl Guiding because the program is set up for us to be inclusive, to be respectful of everyone. Um, and this is why it feels like such a terrible step backwards because everything that Girl Guiding has been working towards for the last few years seems to have been about inclusivity and equality and making sure that everyone is loved and supported and made to feel um, that they belong. And that is absolutely just baked into the program. And so many of the brilliant kind of challenge badges, unofficial challenge badges that leaders and units have come up with over the years as well. Lots of the WAGs, the World Association of Girl Guiding and Girl Scouting, um, resources are fabulously inclusive as well. Um, so yeah, what I'm planning to do is just obviously not, make the entire of my brownies and guides units about inclusion and respect and making sure that we talk about things. And sorry, I did warn you that I would witter, and I've now lost my thread. But it just doesn't feel as though it's going to be hard for us to use resources that we already have, plus more that I'm sure Gate will be producing, um, to make sure that we are speaking to our girls about how we feel, asking them how they feel. I have been very careful. I have spoken to my guides and I've spoken to all of our parents, about the situation and about how I feel about it. I've explained some of my personal background as well, um, because I wanted them to know how I felt. But I felt I needed to say, look, I completely appreciate that not everyone will agree with us, and our meetings have got to be a space where everyone can feel they can express their views. And I need to be really careful about that because I don't want guides or brownies to feel that they can't say things that they might think I would disagree with it. And I'm very aware that I need to balance that out. Um, but yeah, I want our units to feel safe and welcoming. I just feel ashamed that we as an organization have put people in that situation. And then that's not even the important thing. What's more shameful is what we've done to members and leaders who have had girl guiding torn away from them. It
I
feels like.
totally get what you mean, especially about like the shock and going into your first unit meeting after the announcement. My Rainbows was
Yeah.
on a Tuesday at 4 o'clock. So I had maybe an hour and a half. I
Yeah.
got the email while in my uniform and immediately texted my other leaders and was like, I will not be wearing uniform tonight. I will be doing all of
Well
these things. I'll
done.
be wearing my Guide with
Yeah.
Pride top. I will be wearing my pronoun pins. And we had a talk with the parents that night to be like, this is a thing that's happening. I don't know where we stand on it yet.
Yeah.
We'll get back to you because it was just
Yeah.
a sense of this was meant to be a fun little Christmas last couple of weeks of term. Now everything's
Yeah.
exploded, and it was really hard to deal with that. I was also really lucky. I do 3 units, and not a single one of my leaders was unsupportive. But I am in 2 counties, and I haven't heard anything from anywhere above like division
I think
level.
I think they probably just don't know what to say or
Yeah,
do, but it just feels like some kind of acknowledgement, we realize this is difficult kind of email would really have
yeah.
helped.
Yeah.
Um, Particularly and in no way am I criticizing Scouts because I can completely understand people's reaction, but when they were then flooded with social media posts from Scout groups saying, well, we're really inclusive. Like, well, yes,
Oh my God, it was
you're
awful.
quite the same thing, but great, thank you.
We're so glad that you guys are. We're still going to make sure that we
Yes,
become inclusive again.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
as Lo said, maybe an hour between units, and in that hour, Gate was born. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know.
Well, thank you because yeah, I've now got so by the next week, I didn't manage to sort out pins, badges, anything for that first night, but by the next week I had the Girl Guiding Pride flag
Yeah.
badge
Hmm.
Yep.
with the trefoil on it
Yep.
sewn on my uniform, and I now have a gate. I have the gate badge sewn on my uniform as well. So, and I don't actually sew. We put our badges mostly on our camp blankets as units. So, um, actually having badges sewn on, I don't do that. So, hopefully, I don't think anyone
We
really
stand
notices
out.
these things apart from me, but I notice it.
Well, we definitely noticed it, and we thank you so much for coming on today and speaking out because we understand that this is a very difficult decision, and people are getting a lot of criticism every way in terms of whether they resign, whether they stay, whether they do this. And I think it's so important to recenter on our morals are all in the same place. We are all in unison about how we feel about this and how we want change to be taken. And that's why we are here as Gate to enforce that that will eventually happen and make sure, even if by that point we are no longer guiders in member wise, we will be guiders in community wise for the rest of our
In
lives. And
spirit.
that's so much more important. And we thank you for everything that you're doing with your units. If you haven't had a proper thank you from your county or your division or
Region.
region yet, just a thank you for everything that you've done as a volunteer, because we realize a lot of people have been overlooked as volunteers and taking on the weight that that does take. An hour and a half a week, they said. But thank you so much for being here today. Your voice is really appreciated, and we are so thankful.
Thank you, Holly, for being so open with us about all of that. Finally, we spoke to Hops, who chose to stay in her role in guiding for now, but has given notice that she might leave Girl Guiding if a change is not made in the future.
So, for our next guest, we have a lovely volunteer who has given up their afternoon to speak to us and is talking about their resignation from guiding. So, we would first like to say, hello, Hops. Welcome to the
Oh,
podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. So, first question that we have for you is just, can you tell us a little bit about your affiliation with Girl Guiding, what you've been up to in your time, etc.?
Right, I've been a member this time for nearly 24 years now. Um, Initially, I started off as a rainbow helper, which very rapidly became a rainbow leader. I
yeah.
then had my eldest daughter go up to brownies, and I said that I was happy to help. 6 months in, the brownie leader tells me she's moving back to Ireland and she needs me to take over the unit.
Oh, naturally.
And I'm
Love
still
that.
there. I then acquired the guide unit officially as full leader, probably about 5 years ago now, but I've been an assistant leader for a while before that. So, yeah, I'm brownies and guides now. Once my younger daughter left rainbows, that was it. I left rainbows behind. um, I've been very active during that time, done a lot with guiding. I tend to do a lot of the activity weekends, things like jamborees. I've done quite a few of the wellies and wristbands, sparkle and ice, that kind of thing. I was at Essex Jamboree 18 months ago, and I am actually still doing Poacher and Hobbits Fest this year as well, but that will be my last one under guiding.
Yeah. And so you're said that you haven't quite left yet, but that you are already had your intent to resign essentially handed in, and that you are going to be leaving at the end of the school year. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've informed my county commissioner and district commissioner that as of July, I will be closing. Well, I will no longer be leading my unit. Unfortunately, that will probably lead to my unit's closing, which has made the decision really, really hard for me, but it's one that I've got to do.
Yeah, it's very difficult because morally we feel so obligated to leave, especially myself and Lo as queer individuals, we understand the weight of that moral pressure to immediately reject that type of discrimination and that kind of hate. And so we completely understand that. And then just the added pressure of knowing that there are 30 to 40 to 60 young members that all rely on you for their unit to stay open is a heartbreaking revelation as you are figuring out yourself and where you stand.
Yeah.
So when the announcement was made, can you just tell us a little bit about how you first reacted and how that felt?
I think I swore very loudly when I first found out. And I was in shock. I was very angry. I read numerous articles that were popping up about girl guiding, and then very quickly after the Women's Institute as well. And I was just really disappointed as much as anything. As I've been a member guiding for nearly 24 years, plus I was a brownie and a guide as well. So it's kind of been a major part of my life. But as somebody who's also queer and has a number of trans friends, and I'm involved with a queer charity as well, I just couldn't justify being able to stay on within guiding, knowing that it was going totally against all my other morals.
Can you just talk a little bit about the reaction that you've had to your resignation and whether or not the community that you're in has been supportive of that resignation or if you've had backlash?
So far, my 2 units, parents I've spoken to have all been very supportive. I've had a number of them that said, good on you for sticking to your values and that kind of thing. We've had a lot of tears, both from myself and from girls that don't want me to leave, but especially the older ones do understand why. Um, had one or two parents who've gone a bit quiet on me, but have not pulled their girls as far as I know yet. We don't go back until next week, so I'll wait to find out there. Within the local district, county, whatever, when I emailed my commissioner, she came back and was very defensive about how Girlguiding couldn't do anything else but follow that ruling. Whereas my division commissioner was a bit more understanding and saying, well, yeah, we understand and we're sorry that that's how you feel. But if that is the case, then we will just work to try and sort out keeping your units going, or at least redesignating units for your girls, which was a bit more reassuring.
So we just want to say from Gate a huge thank you to you for your not just 1 hour and a half a week designation, but for everything that you've done for young members, for making young members feel safe. And we hope that with our efforts, we can return guiding to what it was years ago and what it has been up until this point and what this community really represents. So thank you so much for coming on with us today. Lo, do you have any questions that you want to follow up with?
Nothing too drastic. I just wanted to ask, you had said that you'd spoken to some parents and that kind of thing. Um, how did you kind of approach that conversation? A lot of our members of our community are struggling to kind of have those difficult conversations with parents and their girls. So can I ask how you approached the topic?
It was a bit of a kind of bolt out of the blue. I wasn't planning. We had a prize giving at the end of last term, and I normally just kind of have a chat with the parents and just let them know what we're planning for next year and that kind of thing. And I'd been mulling over sending an email out, and I'd spoken to my other leaders and spoken to some friends. Um, and it was just seeing these faces looking back at me, all the brownies and guides all sitting there and the parents. I thought, I'm not going to have a better chance for getting a captive audience. And so I thought, right, going to go for it. I was very, very careful with how I worded things. So I kept it that a lot of the brownies probably didn't understand what on earth I was talking about.
Yeah.
So I couldn't have any comeback from the parents about that kind of thing. But I then gave them the opportunity at the end, if you want to come and speak to me on a one-to-one, please do. I'm happy to respond to emails, phone calls, whatever. I had a couple of parents come up at the end and said, we totally understand. Sorry you're leaving, but thank you for carrying on until kind of like seeing the year out and whatever. I didn't get any negative feedback straight away. I sent up a following up email a couple of days later, basically apologising for springing it on them, and that I hoped it hadn't led to any awkward questions from the girls. From that, I got no negative feedback, and I actually got a couple of emails saying thank you for what I was doing. I later found out that a parent already had a trans sister, I think it was. So obviously they were very, very supportive of what I was doing, and their daughter was fully aware of trans community as well.
Yeah.
But there's not really been negatives. But I say going back this term, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. And I think at a time where guiding has been struggling for volunteers for years because of its perception as an outdated organization,
Yeah.
I think this was the worst thing they could have done for themselves, not only for the pre-existing community, but for everybody who could have been a part of our community too, who could have been there, who could have made an impact and could have inspired so many more young members. And so we hope that we will get back there eventually. But yeah, again, thank you so much for coming on today.
And so, I mean, if there's anything I can do at any stage, just you got my number. Get in
We'll
contact with me.
we will be in
Yeah.
touch, definitely. Thank you so much. So, as we stated last week, every time we release a podcast, we're going to have a short call to action that we make for you guys as a wee request on how to engage with the gate community for the next couple of weeks as new podcasts are coming out. So, this week, because our main conversation has been about the debate on whether or not you resign or you stay, we would love if you guys would share your own stories and your own conflict to us either as an interview or just as a written testimony. Just get in touch with us by emailing guidersagainsttransexclusion@gmail.com and we'll get back to you as soon as possible to talk to you guys a little bit more.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to hearing from you guys. And an exciting news. This is coming out on the 18th of January, but tomorrow, the 19th of January, we will be releasing our new campaign. It's called 100 for 100 and will be officially released tomorrow, although we have been teasing it a little on socials. And it was made to promote activism specifically for the trans community in the run up to the 100th anniversary of World Thinking Day, the day that we all kind of gather as Girl Guiders to remember and think about worldwide guiding and the community about it. The challenge pack will be released and it has 100 challenges that you can participate in both individually at home, and we're encouraging as many people as possible to use it at their units. We'll be talking lots more about it on our future podcast when it's been actually released and we can share some of the really, really cool stuff we're working on.
We're
But in
very
the
excited.
meantime, keep an eye. Yes, absolutely. In the meantime, keep an eye on our socials. All of them will be listed down below in the description.
So, thank you so much for tuning in and listening to this episode of Reopen the Gate. If you like what you heard, make sure to subscribe and stay updated for the following episodes.
And our next podcast will be a slightly goofier kind of whodunit episode to discuss the UK-wide policies that ultimately led to this disappointing policy change from Girlguiding.
Yeah. So, again, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you guys later. Bye.
Bye!